All right, now we are learning a Sicha from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. There it is, in Chelik Aleph. And in my book, it's in 235, and it's about the Hagada of Pesach. We're continuing on Haggadah of Pesach. Haggadah of Pesach, and it's talking about the four sons. The wise son, the evil son, the simple son, and the son that does not know how to ask. We talked about this a little bit before, but it was a different idea. The Rebbe talked about the wise son and what's so wise about his question. And finally, he answers that the wisdom of the wise son, that was in the previous, the wise son, he comes from this, wisdom is from this level of Atzilut. And Atzilut, there is really, should be essentially no difference between any of the commandments. All the commandments are the same. And so therefore, why do you make all these distinctions between understandable commandments and not understandable commandments, and customs and the commandments that the religious commandments? Just do what God says and forget it. So you answer him back that you want to get this big, you know how you got this big revelation of Atzilut, like you have this tremendous revelation of God? Well, it started back then when the Jews left Egypt. And when they left Egypt, they got this big revelation because they followed what God said to the ultimate detail in action. That was another one of the questions of the wise son. What do you have to have all these actions for? Right? Godliness is everywhere. It's pure revelation of godliness. You have to have all these deeds, and this, just realize the greatness of God. He's everywhere. You don't need to. So you answer him back. You want this revelation of God. It can only be done by deed, to the last, most seemingly insignificant deed, that after the Paschal lamb, that was the last thing they ate in the meal, and now we eat the afikomen in the place of that. You don't eat anything else. A thing like that, which seemingly totally not spiritual, don't eat after the Paschal lamb. What's that got to do with spirit or godliness or mysticism or anything like that? Don't eat anything, that's it. It says only by doing that could they receive a revelation of the essence of God. Remember that's what we learned last time? You remember? Good, okay. And also, that was the four questions. And then we learned after that about what Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, I am like 70 years old. And we learned that the good deeds that we do in our previous incarnations. Yes, Judaism believes in incarnations. The previous good that we do in previous incarnations is eternal, and it will help us when we're put into a situation that demands it. So therefore, it's a good thing to be put in situations that demand the essence of our soul to come out. Who we really are gets realized, and that's what he meant when he said, I am like 70 years old. Read the Sikha and you'll know. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the four sons. Ready? Tet. Keneged Arba Banim, corresponding to four sons, Dibra Torah, the Torah speaks. Echad Chacham, Echad Rasha, Echad Tam, Echad Shein Yadeh. Four sons. One is a smart son, another one is a bad son, a wicked son. One is a simpleton, and the other one just doesn't even know how to ask. But Piskazeh lo move on. It says the Rebbe, in this paragraph, it's not understood. Where did the whole business come from? The four sons and everything. This is the night of Passover. We say the Hagada. It's a commandment from the Torah to talk about how the Jews left Egypt. And contained in this is also hints at the future redemption. That's really the reason why we went out back then in Egypt. We didn't go back then in Egypt so we'll always remember it. We went out back then because that was the beginning of this whole process that eventually there's going to be what's called the future redemption. And then the meaning of true reality, the meaning of this world, the true holiness and joy of doing the Torah and the commandments, the true uniqueness and preciousness of every single human being in the world. In fact, every single creation will be revealed. Amazing, amazing revelations will be in this world, and we'll see how amazingly miraculous this physical world is, higher than all the spiritual worlds. We'll see it. But that's what we're saying on this night is a preparation for that. Okay, so the Torah says that there are four sons, 4 types of children. There's the wise son, the wicked son, the son that's simple, and the son that just doesn't even know how to ask. Says the Rebbe, this whole order of things is not understandable, these 4 sons. Seder Hofar Arba Banim, it says, why do we put, first of all, the wise son? Oh, the wise son, we can understand. We put the wise son. He's wise, you want to have him first. And then after that should come like the simple son or something. No, right next to him we put the evil son. And the evil son, this, by the way, is the famous Sikha where the Rebbe talks about the 5th son, right? The son that doesn't come at all. This, the Rebbe said, when did he say this? This was in 1957. The Rebbe said. Okay. Why is it that the evil son, the wicked son, is put right next to the wise son? It should have been according to the sentences, how they appear in the Torah. These 4 sons come from 4 different sentences in the Torah, where it says, and when your son asks you, and if your son asks you, and you should tell your son. 4 times it talks about speaking to your son about going out of Egypt. How does it? Each one of these is how do you say, typical to one of the sons that are here. The first one is talking about the evil son. The first time it appears in the Torah, the wicked son asks you. He says, "What is this? What is all this to you? What is all this to you?" And I don't want any part of it. Then there's the Tam. Then there's the simple son. Then after that, it says the son that doesn't know how to ask, that you have to tell him. And then there's the wise son. He says, "What edus v'chukim v'mishpatim." That's the way it should come. If you want to go according to the order that appears in the Torah, first of all, it should be the question of the wicked son. Then after that, the simple son. Then the son who doesn't know how to ask, and the wise son should be last. But that's not how it appears here in the Hagada. Here it appears that the wise son is the first. Or maybe according to their importance. Oh, that's a better one. Should be, first of all, the wise son. That's good. That's the way it is in the Haggadah. But then there should be the simple son instead of the evil son. And then should be the son who doesn't know how to ask. And then the evil son who you have to drag him to come to the night, or he wants to come to make trouble or something. He should be last. And so it is according to Kabbalah. The Arizal, the Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, in his book called Pre-Eitz Chaim, talks a lot about the commandments over there. It says that the 4 sons correspond to the 4 worlds. The Chacham, the wise son, that's in the world of Atzilut, that we already talked about before in the previous. And he explains why, because, a Rasha, the bad son, that is the lowest level, Asiya. That's the lowest. There's a lot of klippo over there, a lot of shells. The simple son, that he corresponds, you'll have to look on the Arizal and the Kabbalah to explain why. That corresponds to the second lowest world, that's Bria. And the son that doesn't know how to ask, he is in Yetzirah. So that's the way it should be. It should be the wise son, first of all, the one who doesn't know how to ask. That's his Kabbalah. The wise son, that's Atzilus. The one who doesn't know how to ask, a little bit lower, that's Bria. The simple son, that's the second one. The one who doesn't know how to ask, that's the third one. And the evil son is the last one. But no, in the Haggadah, and all the Haggadahs of Passover, the evil son is number 2. And the wise son is number 1. They put them right next to each other. Why? The Pishut, according to the simple meaning, is maybe you can say that maybe you can say that the Haggadah lists them according to their intelligence, their IQ. In other words, the wise son is very wise. He's got a high IQ. The evil son, he's got a little lower IQ. In other words, he's really clever. But if he would really be clever, he wouldn't do such stupid, evil things. Maybe. Because in the end, he's just going to get destroyed anyway. He's not going to get anything out of it. So he's smart, but he's not so smart. And then after that, you have the little bit lower IQ. That's the simple son. And then the one who doesn't know what to ask, that's the last one. Or maybe you can say, so maybe that's the reason they asked. They put the wise one first and then the evil one second. Or maybe you can say that, first of all, the Haggadah takes the highest, and then it takes the lowest. And then afterwards it takes, right? So it says, first of all, it takes the highest, that's the Chacham. Then it takes the lowest one, that's the bad, evil son. And then you take the other two sons. In other words, you want to show the whole entire gamut of what type of sons I've got. This is the good one, this is the bad one. I love them all equally. They're all mine. I accept them all. But still, this one's. So maybe that's why there's the wise son and then there's the evil son, because to show that I accept them all. Brahm says the Rebbe, this is not such a good answer. But Torah bo hari kol davar meduyak. In the Torah, everything is very exact. Because the evil son, the wicked son, is not put right next to the wise son. Hechrech lomo, we must say, ki yesh kesher b'neihem, there must be a connection between them, and especially when it says echad rasha. It says over there, there are four sons in the Torah. One is the wise son, and it says and one is the wicked son, and one. Because it puts the letter Vav, that joins them together. Yesh efo lahavin, a chacham miyatzeg et hakatzei elyon, and the Rasha is the lowest. How can you join them together with a letter Vav? Okay, question number one. Next question. Hatshuva LaRasha, the answer, all the four sons ask questions. That's the four questions that are asked. And the wicked son, he asks the question, says, what is all this work that you're doing? What are you doing? So you answer him back, and you say to him, listen, buddy, you want to make trouble, you're the wicked son. He says, because of all this stuff that's on the table, the matzah and the moror and the wine, because of this, God took me out of Egypt. Leave alone, me and not you. Ilu hayasham. If you were back there in Egypt, you wouldn't have even gotten out. That's what you tell him. What type of an answer is that? Says the Rebbe built to move, and that's not understandable. If you're telling him that you haven't got any connection to going out of Egypt, you would have died back then in the darkness. 4/5. It says 4/5 of the Jews that were in Egypt, they didn't get out. They didn't want to get out, and they died in the plague of the darkness. That's what it says. Chamushim alu b'nei Yisrael. You're telling the wicked son. It's written in the Hagada of Pesach. A son asks the question, what is this work? What is this thing that you're doing? What is this? And you say, listen, if you would have been back there in Egypt, you wouldn't have even gotten out. So what type of a thing to say is that? In other words, you're telling him he's got no place in this whole remembering going out of Egypt. Malo Hagada. So you have no place with the Hagada. Madua nidon hu b'seder. So why is he even in the night of the Seder just to, like the clown that's sitting on this thing, you throw balls and he falls into the water. He was just there in order to make fun of him. Why are you doing that? To tell him, come to my Seder so that I can make fun of you and tell you don't belong here. But and not only that, it says you have to talk to him, right? You figure if he's the evil son, you don't want him to be there, so ignore him, right? You have a question, he asks this question, okay, next question, don't even answer him. It says the God of Pesach says you have to answer him. You have to deal with him. And what do you have to tell him? That if you would have been back there in Egypt, you wouldn't have even gotten out. All this stuff is really not relevant to you, right? You wouldn't have eaten the matzah. You probably wouldn't have eaten anything, right? You have no business here. How can you tell a person that? If so, what's he doing there? Why is he even in the... So it must be that the wicked son is very important. And it must be that he does have a place there. And it must be that this answer that you're telling him is an encouraging answer. Because the whole night is encouraging for the future redemption where no Jew will be left behind. Not any. Back then, 4/5 died in the plague of darkness. In the future, it's not going to be. It says, Lo yidach mimenu nidach. If so, what are we telling this wicked son that if you were back then, you wouldn't get out? Gimel. Ne'amar b'kisvei Arizal, it says in the books of the Arizal, Sha'arba causes to these 4 cups. They also correspond to the 4 sons. The first cup is the wise son. The second cup, that's the Rasha, etc. The third cup goes for the simple son. So, whoa, wait a minute here. The first cup, what do we do with the first cup? We make Kiddush. Then we fill up the second cup. And what do we do on the second cup? We say the whole entire Haggadah. The second cup, the first cup, we hold maybe 5 minutes, who knows? The second cup we could hold for an hour, 2 hours, who knows how long? The second cup, the Ikar Hagada, the main Hagada, the whole story of Passover, the majority of the night, is devoted to what is said when the second cup is there on the second cup. You're supposed to fill it up before you start the Haggadah and do the whole Haggadah when the second cup. If you want to say that the second cup represents the evil son, the wicked son, and you're telling him that if you were back then in Egypt, you wouldn't have even gotten out of Egypt, right? You would have been one of the people that died in the darkness. If so, why is the whole second cup, all of the emphasis on the whole night, all the time and the energy is spent on the second cup? We're talking about the second cup represents the wicked son that you're telling him he shouldn't even be here. He shouldn't have even gotten out of Egypt. Dalit. Right? The night of Passover, we're celebrating, remembering going out of Egypt. We're saying you wouldn't have gotten out. Dalit. La'achar hakdama, after this preceding a bedavar mitzvah of Haggadas and of Haggadah al-Arba, after we proceed this and talk about the 4 questions, and then we start talking to the sons and telling them the answer, and then we say like this, Matchil Sipri Yetzias Mitzrayim Atzmo. Then it starts talking about the going out of Egypt. In the Haggadah, look in the Haggadah, it talks about how the Jews went into the history of Judaism a little bit, very short, and then how the Jews suffered in Egypt and how they got out. It says like this, it says, Mitchila ovde avodah zara hayu avotenu. It says in the beginning, our forefathers, before Abraham, our forefathers, Abraham's father, and they used to worship idols. HaGemora omeret b'yachas lezeh, it says, Mitchila b'ganus. It says, why do we have to say not nice things? Come on, why do you have to say the Jews started off as idol worshippers? So the Gemara tells us that you have to, in the Gemara Pesachim, it says that you have to start off by saying bad things about the Jews. The bad things, our bad past. So this is not understandable. We're starting here, we're sitting on the night of Passover, talking about the birth of the Jewish people. They left Egypt, the greatness, how God loves us. Why do we have to start off and say bad things about the Jews, and especially bad things that happened before there were even any Jews? The first Jew was Abraham. That was the first Jew. Before that, there weren't any Jews. His father was his father, but it wasn't a Jew. Tonight, the night of Passover, we're talking about the beginning of the Jewish people. Why do we have to talk about what there was before the Jewish people? Why is it important? Well, Yud. The Gemara says, Afal Pishachata Yisraelu. The Gemara, it's a Gemara in Sanhedrin. And the Gemara says that a Jew, even though that he does sins, he is still a Jew. B'kol Ish Yisrael, every single Jew. B'kol Matzav Shiyeh, no matter who he is, Tamuna Nekudas Yadud, there is hidden the inner point of Judaism. Ukapitkam Morichami, Admor, like the previous Rebbe said, Echad Chacham, we say on the night of Passover, this is what we're talking about. It says, 4 sons, one is wise, one is wicked, one, each one has this one. The Echad Matsui B'kol Echad, this one, like God is one, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, is found in every single Jew. Gam Barasha, even in a wicked Jew. Ela Shebarasha Hu Mechusa Ve'en Legaloso. But the wicked son, his good, the oneness of God is concealed inside of him. It's concealed. Ha'echad Shebachol Yudi, this oneness of God, which is inside of every Jew, Kashur in Koch HaChachma, this is in what's called the power of Chachma in his soul. Lefichach, therefore, the Rasha, the evil son, the wicked son, is put right next to the wise son. Why? Because Chachma, that's this level of Chachma, is the power of faith and connection to God. It's the ability to perceive the oneness of God and to want to do what God says, to feel responsible and connected to the Creator. That's this level of Echad, one. A synonym for that, according to Kabbalistic terms, is Chachma. Chachma, Koach Ma. It explains in the Tanya, also the 3rd chapter, right in the beginning. And it's Koach Ma. This is the power, the ability to be totally connected and to admire and surrendered to the Creator of the universe. Every single Jew has this. Therefore, we put, even the evil son has this. Therefore, we put the evil son right next to the wise son. Why? Kedei l'ramez, in order to tell us a hint. Shegam l'Rasha, that even this wicked son, Yeshnu Bechinas Echad, he has this level of one. The oneness of God is in his soul. Because Gamu Yeshnu Bechinas Chachma Shebenafsho, he also has this level of Chachma, the wise son. So therefore we're talking about that this night we're talking about, we're all Jews. So the wise son, he's first, he's the example of how a Jew is supposed to act, right? The wicked son, he's an example of how a Jew is not supposed to act, but that's only his actions. His soul is the same as the wise son. His soul is, the wise is not the wrong way. His soul is the same one as the believing son. You want to call it the connected son. So that's why both of them have this echad. They're put one next to the other, even though you might think that they aren't. The Hagada is saying that they are. Therefore, now we see another thing. The wise son is put next to we want to call it the righteous son. The wise son, he's put right next to the wicked son. Why? Because he has to work with him. He has to have an effect on him. It says the wise son, it's coming to tell us that his obligation to have a positive effect on the wicked son is no less than to have a positive effect on the simple son or the son that doesn't know how to ask. We talked about this before. In Judaism, asking is very, very essential in Judaism. To ask questions, at least to be curious. To be curious, to want to maybe you say, okay, I won't ask anybody, but maybe I'll get the answer in time. But to be curious, very good. A son that doesn't know how to ask, not good. A person should have questions. He should be interested. He should be alive, dynamic. Right? What's going on over here? God really exists. Why does God do this? Why doesn't he do it? Questions. People have questions, right? You should have questions that show that you're alive. Like I said, the Judaism doesn't depend on the answers, but nevertheless, they have questions that are very important. So you might think the wise son, he has to deal with this son that doesn't know how to ask. Come on, get him interested a little bit. Get him enthusiastic, put a little bit of fire in him. And the simple son also, he might have a lot of questions, but he's simple, he doesn't understand the answers. So the wise son should deal with him. But the wicked son, he doesn't even want to listen. It's just a big waste of time. What do we have to deal with him for? Says that's the Hagada comes and tells us no, that the wise son is put right next to the wicked son, to tell you that the wise son, he has to deal with the wicked son as well. Why? Because the wicked son is just as Jewish as the wise son is. The wicked son that doesn't want anything to do with anything godly, especially not with Judaism, nothing whatsoever, says it's that son you have to deal with. Hari Keneged Arba Banim Dibra Torah, because the Torah speaks about the 4 sons. The Torah. If the wicked son, is in the Torah, Yeshno Dibur Shel Torah L'Tapel, the Torah says that you have to be interested in him, do something with him, have an influence on him. Lochen Mashkel Shava L'Kulam. Therefore, he puts an equal weight and value to all of the 4 sons. Kevan Sekol Dibur Prati Shabbat Torah, because every individual word of the Torah is in the Torah, all the Torah. So if the Torah mentions it, then there must be some good point in it that it can be dealt with. Wicked son. If there's missing one letter in the Torah, then it is relevant to the holiness of all the letters. It doesn't make any difference which letter is missing. It doesn't make any difference if it is the letter that's missing from the Torah is connected to the Chacham, or if it is talking about God to the Bincha, and here we're talking about the father talking to his son. We're talking about, in our case, the father, like we said about that thing about Helach Ma'anya, that God is inviting all of us, that God, he's our father, and he is answering all of these questions. Oh, Barasha, or an evil son, every word of the Torah every word of the Torah is holy and complete. Therefore, we have to, now a person can ask a question, one second, there's Bilam, what about Bilam? There's people that are evil in the Torah, that they want this Amalek, it says in the Torah, Yavo Amalek. So I said, good, right. But you have to deal with these things the way the Torah wants you to deal with it. In other words, Amalek is an aspect of the Torah, is an aspect in this world that God created, that God says you have to destroy it. But evil sons, wicked Jews, doesn't say you have to destroy them. Only in some very, very, very unique cases where a person really knows what the Torah is and he really intends to go against it, and you warned him and he says, I don't care, I'm going. You never find that nowadays. Nowadays, all there's this ignorance. Ignorance, people simply are ignorant. Therefore, nowadays, says the Rebbe, our job, says the Hagada of Pesach, and that's the birth of the Jewish people, is to deal with the wicked son. The son that wants to go against Judaism, doesn't want it because he doesn't know any better. Yud Beis. Dover said this is also hinted at what it says, Afal pi shechata Yisrael hu. This is also hinted at what we said before, a Jew, even if he sins, he is still a Jew. Lashon Rizal Meduyakim, what the rabbis say is very, very exact. Medua, why does it say, even though he sins, he is a Yisrael? It doesn't say that he's a Jew, Yehudihu. It says Yisrael. Now the word Yisrael, there's a lot of terms for the Jewish people. There's Yaakov, there's Yehudi, right? Why doesn't it use any of these other? The word Yisrael is the highest title you can give to a Jew, the highest description. It's the first letters, Yesh Shishim Riboy Osios LaTorah. There are 10,000 letters in the Torah, and 600,000 letters in the Torah. In other words, I mean, if you count them, it comes out exactly, the letters comes out a lot less, but if that's talking, you add in the punctuation, etc. Kolomar, Kashem Shekol Torah, just like the whole entire Torah, depends on one letter. And if there's one letter missing, then the whole Torah has to be fixed up. You're not supposed to read from it. Kach, Talui, some people say that, anyway, that's the way it's accepted. Kach, Talui, Kalal, Yisrael, Bekol Yehudi, and so it is with all the Jewish people. All the Jewish people are, that's Yisrael. There are 600,000 letters in the Torah. Each Jew is like a letter in the Torah. You cannot be missing one Jew. Each Jew is a son of God. Avinu shebashamayim, our Father in heaven, every single Jew. Therefore, all of the Jewish people depend on each and every Jew. You can't say, okay, I have the rabbis, I have my group, I have I have the smart people, the dumb people, the people who do the commandments, right? Of course, people like to be with their own type. They want to be with the people who understand them, who they feel at home with. Says the Rebbe, that's very good. But you have to be a people, but we're Jews. We have to be together with people who God feels at home with. And the Jews happen to be God's people. It's not that God doesn't like everybody. God creates everybody. And God creates everybody for free. And it's a sign of God's love that he creates everybody. But the Jews are something special. Especially the Jews are here to tell the whole world how much God cares about them because he's creating them. Nevertheless, the Jews are special, and not just the righteous Jews, and not just the smart Jews, and not just the Jews that do the commandments, and not just the Jews that know they're Jews, even Jews that don't know they're Jews. It's all part of the Jews. That's why the wicked son is put next to the wise son, because it could be the wicked son just doesn't know any better. Ubehachnaso shel ben, a Russia, the Seder, by bringing this wicked son into the night of the Seder Passover, Tushlam Kalal Kavana, then this is the whole intention of what God wants, to gather all the Jews together and that each should have a positive influence on the other. Tam Nosaf, I've got another reason. Says the Rebbe, Yud Gimel, another reason for putting the wicked son right next to the wise son. Mihu Amasugal, Legalos at Echad, who is the only one that can reveal this oneness, Echad Russia, Echad Chacham, Echad Russia. Who is the only one that can reveal this oneness? Ach Barach Chacham, only the Chacham. Only the son, the righteous son, can reveal it. Okay, we have to realize something over here. A righteous son, what does it mean he's a righteous son? It means he's doing what he's doing because he wants to serve God. He's learning the Torah, he's doing the commandments. Why is he doing it? Because he wants to do the truth. And he's willing to sacrifice himself, and he's willing to sacrifice his own benefits for the truth. Very rare is the person that can withstand a bribe. Very rare is a person that can withstand flattery, withstand temptation. Very rare is the person that can forego success for the sake of the truth. Where do you find a person like that? So it says that it's a goal of religion. A person is supposed to believe in God, and that's supposed to do it. But it's very, very easy for a person to do all the commandments and have a beard and have everything. And when a little bit of temptation comes in, and all of a sudden he goes crazy. There's even a sentence in the Bible that says, "Al tikach shochad," don't take bribery. Ki shochad yaver einei chachamim, because shochad blinds the wise, the eyes of the wise. V'yisalef divrei tzadikim, and it makes crooked, confused the words of the righteous. The Torah calls these people wise and righteous, and you put a little couple bucks in his pocket, and all of a sudden, he goes berserk. And this is talking about everybody, right? But he doesn't go berserk in the way you think that you could detect anything going berserk. All of a sudden, he becomes very serious. He says, "Oh, I must think this over first of all. Give me a couple hours to think about it. Yes, I decided that he's innocent, and I decided that you're guilty." So, "Oh, I'm guilty. What happened? I don't understand." Little did anybody know that this guy sent him a SMS or something like that. "We just put $100,000 into the account of your yeshiva, right? You have a yeshiva, and therefore he looks at it and says, 'Oh yes, but well, don't think this is going to influence me in any way.'" But all of a sudden he starts to think a little bit different. All of a sudden he looks at him, "Oh, I see this is a nice man. Why didn't I realize that?" His whole mind goes differently. Says that's the reason it is. When the evil son, that essentially, what is the wicked son? The essence of wicked son is he's doing for himself. He expects more from the righteous son. The righteous son, he figures, okay, this person is given over to the Torah. He believes in God. What are you talking about? He's the same as me. It's just like he just likes to be religious. He can make a better living off of being a rabbi than he can off of being a judge or something like that. He's got a religious tendencies, right? All of a sudden, you see this person is genuinely devoted to the truth, and that he's not bribable. That's called the wise son. That's called chacham. Chacham means bittul, means total surrender to the truth. That's what chacham means. The wicked son means that he's devoted to whatever degree to himself, and therefore he doesn't want to make any sacrifices. For what should I make sacrifices? He sees this person, he's really devoted to the truth. Suddenly starts to say, "Hey, maybe I'm using my life in a wrong way. Maybe this thing that I'm living only for myself. Maybe I should live for the truth also. This is a good way to live. All of a sudden, so the wise son can convince the wicked son that the happiest way to be alive and the most, what do you want to call it, the most genuine way to be alive is that if he's alive and he does what God says. Does what God says. Ein b'kocho shel chacham, he says, who's going to make this wicked son come back to his senses? The simple son and the one that can't ask, they can't do it. Only the wise son. Shehu b'dargei elyona, that he's at a very high level. He's aware of what the Torah says, that the Torah is the path. How if a person wants to follow the truth, they have to go according to the Torah. Therefore, the wise son, because he's learned Torah and he does the commandments, got the ability, bechinat kol hagavoa gavoa yoter, like it says, those who are the highest have the ability to come down the lowest, yered lamata mata. Therefore, muskar Russia, therefore the Russia is put right next to the wise man, because only the wise son can deal with him. So don't say to yourself, "Hey, I'm wise. How did I get wise? Because I spent all my time learning Torah, not wasting my time with bums like this. What do I have to waste my time? And who knows if it's going to even succeed?" Here, I know for sure if I learn Torah, I succeed. I'm really good at it. I spend a lot of time. So the Rebbe, you got a good point there, but the Torah does not agree with you, and neither does God. The Torah says, if you look in the Hagada of Pesach, it says the evil son, the wicked son, is put next to the wise son, so that the wise son will have a positive effect on it. And only the wise son can do it. You can't say, "Okay, I have an effect on him. I'll say, 'How you doing? Good Yom Tov,' shake his hand, leave me alone," right? Somebody else take care of him, right? But he sees I'm a nice guy. If he wants to, he'll come knocking on my door. If he doesn't want, it's not my problem. Says, no, that's not the way to live life. You're supposed to have a positive effect on everyone that you meet, even on the wicked Jew, so to speak. Yudalit. Okay, let's do one more. That's why it says that Keneged four sons. The Torah speaks. Mahuta shel Torah. The whole essence of the Torah is hora'ah, teaching how to serve your Creator. It's creating you all the time. Ba'avodah ketzad lahashlim et hakavana b'kol davar. How to fulfill the purpose, the inner meaning of everything in the world. Like I said, the previous Rebbe has this very beautiful mimer And he explains over there that the godly soul, one of the nature of the godly soul is it wants to know why everything exists. What's the reason for everything? Lochein, therefore, kayim b'chinat Torah. Therefore, in the Torah puts the order. One is a wise son, and one is the wicked son. Mibechina Seder Olamot, according to the order of the worlds, we should be, like we explained before, the wicked son should be in the end. Like it says, the world of Asiya, that's the last of the four worlds. If you want to talk about the whole idea of the Torah is, Sha'olam lo yisha'ar b'metziut kamoshu. The world should not remain as it is, but rather shekol davar, that everything should be elevated, should reveal its true purpose. Lefichach dibra Torah. That's why it says that the Torah speaks about these four sons, and it's the Torah puts in the order that the wicked son should be right next to the wise son. The wise son should be first, and the wicked son should be number two, because the Torah is coming and telling us why everything was created. Dibra Torah, kavoseder zeh rasha yed liyad hacham. Sha'al yedo, only by means of the wise son can there be an elevation in the wicked son. Let's just do one more. I'll say this in English because it's very beautiful, I think. Therefore, we can see why the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he used to take his smartest and most gifted pupils and send them out far away to wake Jews up. In America, this was in America in the 40s. Harei minastam hem gam yodei Torah biyota. They know a lot of Torah. They pray. These are in Chassidut. A person who learns Chassidut, he can spend hours praying. These are pupils that really got the point. They know how to learn. They know how to pray. But these people, Yitaplu, that they should deal with simple Jews, ignorant Jews, and they should teach them even the most simple things like Aleph Beis. Teach them how to read Hebrew. Or even more, Aleph Beis of doing tshuva, putting on a tefillin on them. And asks the Rebbe a very good question. You want to go out and put tefillin on a Jew, you don't have to have a genius to do that. Anybody can do it. Why, if you want to go out and teach Jews Aleph Beis, you get an older man, a businessman, whatever, a Jewish guy doesn't know anything about Judaism. You have to teach him Aleph Beis from the very beginning, or you have to put on tefillin. Why do you have to have a special person to do this? First, send out simple people, and then build the people up. Then, when the guy has questions on Torah, he has questions on this, have him call me up. I'll answer the phone. No, the previous Rebbe would take a person, the best pupils, waste who knows how many days sending them out far, weeks, until they just found the person. All this time, right, they could have been sitting and learning Torah. Other people could have done this work. Shekain im omnam ein yedioteim merubot maspikim lavod azu. You could take the simple pupils that they don't really understand much and they're not really successful, and they could go out and look for other people, look for wise men, look for non-religious Jews. But these Jews that were the most attached to the previous Rebbe, they should have devoted themselves to learning Torah, doing prayer. Says the Rebbe, it's exactly this one. Because in the Torah it says that the wise man has to put himself next to the bad son. Like it says, the lowest, the only one that can affect him is the highest. The Rebbe is going to say also later on, we'll learn this, God willing, tomorrow, that another reason they put next to the other, one next to the other, is that the wise son should know he's not far from the wicked son himself. The wicked son, what he's doing because he feels good. What's wrong with feeling good? And so he doesn't want to eat kosher. It feels good to this. So the wise son should know he's not that far from that also himself. He shouldn't be so sure of himself. Right? Don't be sure that you can't go down to the level of the person that's not doing. But you have to try to bring him up. You have to work with him and bring him up, as we're going to learn, God willing, tomorrow. But that is the message of Passover. The message of Passover is learning. God took us out of Egypt to get the Torah. And the Torah is like the Jewish people. Every single Jew has a letter in the Torah. But the reason the Jewish people are here is in order to learn the Torah, to know what God wants, and to connect ourselves with the Creator of the universe. But just like a Torah is incomplete if one letter is missing, so the Jewish people are incomplete if one Jew is not active. It can't be really missing. Every Jew is there, but it's not active. It's like a letter with dirt over it. You can't see it. So therefore, in the Haggadah of Pesach, which is the birth of the Jewish people, you have to know why is it that God gave me gifts and made me wise, is that only that I should deal with people who are not as fortunate and as gifted and as blessed and as lucky as I have been, and to elevate them all. That's the only reason I was given this wisdom and this understanding. That's the Haggadah of Pesach, as we will continue, God willing, tomorrow.